This grinder's not due for its monthly PM yet, but I'll be changing out some of these knives here. You can see there's chips and nicks in that. That's from hitting plastic. Shreds up the plastic. Eventually it'll tear up this steel. What we do is we have our tool and die guy grind them sharp again. Simply just replace them. And before we put them in, put a little anti-seize on the threads here, because these will get really hot. I mean, if you go to clean this right after it's been running, touching this metal, you'll burn your hand. So we'll put a little anti-seize on the threads just to make sure this doesn't get stuck in there. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about revisiting the gearbox in the previous video. New York Outcast made a suggestion about a faster way to check the gearboxes on the monthly PM, and I'm gonna give it a try today to see if it might work out. So the first step is to loosen up one of these two screws here in this plate. Now before I filmed this, I went ahead and I broke this free. It took a little bit of effort, but you want to make sure you've got your Allen wrench seated in all the way, otherwise you'll round out these six sides here. But I had to put some force on it, and it kind of snapped it. Once it kind of snapped, it broke free. Try to do the same thing over on this one here. Make sure it's seated all the way. Oh, that one? No effort at all. Look at that. Okay, so both of these will be easy to remove. We'll go ahead and just take this one out. So I'm going to be making a dipstick. What New York Outcast had suggested was just taking a simple ink pen like this and cannibalizing it for the tube that the ink goes in to dip down in there. Now, you see this ink pen came from the Excalibur Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. And for those of you who've ever stayed at the Excalibur, you'll know that this pen is about the most you're going to get out of that experience because, well, they suck. So really, I should cannibalize this pen, but I'm not, because I need to fill out paperwork tonight. So what I'm going to use is some plastic welding rod that we use when we plastic weld plexiglass together, and simply insert this down into the hole. Alright, ran into my first problem. I hit a plate here. Let's take the other one free. Okay, this is where I'm at with it. It looks like if I insert the welding rod at an angle, I can get around the gear, and I can verify. See if I can get it in frame here. You can see the color of the oil, so I can see that it's not burnt, it's clean. Now all I have to do is figure out how long to make this in order to verify that the case is half full. This is where it's going to take a little bit of guesswork. So I've got a scale here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it down to about the halfway point, and that is about 60 millimeters. Then I'm going to add in the thickness of this plate. I measured the thickness of the plate, and it's another 10 millimeters. So overall, it's 70 millimeters, 7 centimeters from the top of the screw hole at a shallow angle to about the halfway point in the gearbox. So I simply took a red Sharpie, marked a line on the welding rod at the 70 centimeter mark, or 70 millimeter mark, and I marked up above that. That way I can see this really well. So let's go ahead and insert it. I just put one screw in the plate just to hold it in place. Let's insert it at an angle right to there. Now let's see if I get a little bit of gear oil on the tip. And I do. So I would say this will work out as a dipstick. So the piece of welding rod that I've marked and have tested to make sure it's long enough to be used as a dipstick is a little bit long. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to size. I'm going to use these diagonal cutters, sometimes referred to as dikes, but I can't say dikes because that's misogynistic. I can't even say lesbian. That's just a woman in comfortable shoes. Anyhow, I'll go ahead and cut it down to size and be right back. In order to test out the dipstick, I'm going to try it out on another grinder. Go ahead and make sure that the hex key is seated all the way. This is going to snap. Oh, no, this one didn't. Oh, good. Use the ball end here and should be able to turn it faster and get this plug out of here. I'm at an odd angle because I don't have the chute open on the grinder. So what I did was I took some red electrical tape and I went from the bottom of the line all the way up to the top here so I know which end is which, makes a handle. And I simply insert it at an angle. I've got to get around the gear that's in there. I've got to put it just part way into the hole here for the plug. And when I pull it out, you really can't see it too well with the light here from the camera that's helping me see, but there is some gear oil at the end of this. So that verifies that it works because all of these were at the halfway point last month and none of them are leaking oil right now, so they all should be good. What I did was, since I had to cut the weld rod down in order to make this a more usable length, I took the excess piece and I made a second dipstick there. Did the same thing, marked it at the 7 centimeter, 70 millimeter mark, and took red electrical tape and made a little handle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a separate location, that way if I lose one, I don't lose them both. So I'd like to thank New York Outcast for making the suggestion on this time saver for when I do monthly PMs. I'll start using this next month when these are due for their monthly. And I'll go ahead and include a link to his channel. Go ahead and check it out. Thanks for watching. Something else to note, I'm going to go ahead and mark on each of these grinders with the red Sharpie which plug needs to be pulled, just in case somebody else takes on this job. It's going to be a lot easier to show them the shortcut.